Alright, hello and welcome back everybody. It's Aces with another update video here. Done a number of changes to the setup here, enough to warrant, well, update video. I guess that's how they work. So we're going to be touching on a few things here that have changed. We're going to be talking about some new menu updates, some new sound updates to everything. We're going to be talking about the Discovery Center, also talking about how search works in this setup, how related games sort of works a little bit more. We're going to be talking about some new Genesis and some Super Nintendo sections here. We're going to be talking about some new Retroarch defaults that are set up for a lot of the systems. The big thing about this setup that I try to push for is for uniformity. So because of that here, it actually worked out really great. Yeah, I'll be showing that. We're going to be talking some shader updates, which I also just cleaned up all the different sections just to make sure they're even more uniform than they were before. Also made a whole bunch more Coverbox Fragment updates. I feel Coverbox Fragments actually is fantastic. I leaned into all the different sections. They're just great. So we're going to be talking about those. And then at the end here we're going to be talking about a new emulator called 3D Sen. Well, not new, just new to the setup. And basically it takes Nintendo ROMs and it turns into like 3D. So I'm going to be showing that, and also how to add it to LaunchBox at the end here. So you can take the concept that I'll be showing about how to add 3D Sen. Well, you can use it to add 3D Sen. That'll probably be a good thing. But beyond that, you can probably use what I'll be going over and touching to sort of add it into other sections. Just the concept of how it all works. So first what we're going to be hearing here is as we're clicking through, it's just a nice little sound. Nothing that's jarring, no more bleeps and bloops like it was before. That really just felt disjointed. I honestly don't know why I didn't look into that earlier. But now that that's taken care of here, I think it just makes the whole experience a lot better. Then we're going to be starting off with, the new Genesis sections here. And how it all looks. We can also touch on Coverbox and how it looks for the Genesis. So I added the MSU and Mode 1 CD sections. It seems to be more of like a section where that just has a bunch of soundtrack changes, so I'll show that really quick. And color hacks. Color hacks seems to be a whole bunch of ROMs that I found that are color corrected. They're kind of neat actually, so let's go into MSU and Mode 1 CD to see how this works. So now Coverbox shows Sega Genesis, as you can see there, really nice. So this is it. I think I love the movement actually. I think how everything changes on the screen here, the movement adds a lot. It was static before, so now with this Coverbox here, it's fantastic. I love how the cartridge slides out again, just like all the other games have the CDs for all the other different sections. I love how this one just sort of slides out. So you can see Earthworm Jim 2, the art placed there. Oh, love it. Swipes over. Blows up the back of the box there. Looks really good. You can still go view manual. So again, every game here, well, pretty much every game has manuals that you can zoom in and out here using your controller. I love that here. I thought that was really big that I tried to push in this setup here to be able to have this really easy to access, no matter what section you're into. So you don't need to have to be in a specific section for that to happen. As you can see that the sound actually changes. So I went over Earthworm Jim 2. It actually has music for Earthworm Jim 2, so it'll go ahead and play that sound. So that's actually really cool. The new menu sections here, we can see Retroarch, NetPlay, Host, and Join. What these are, I actually found out really cool. All you have to do is just click on Host. This works for every Retroarch game here. So now I've had every section set up to have basically Retroarch as a default. All I have to do is just click on Retroarch and I play Host. It'll go ahead and ask me to enter my name. And then after that you click Done. It'll start launching a session of Retroarch. It'll give me my IP address, and then the next person who I would like to play with just has to go under NetPlay Join. As long as they have the same ROM, they can go ahead and enter my IP address, and we're playing 2 players remotely over the internet. I'll be showing the section and all the different sections so you can see that it's there. It's actually really cool. You can still be able to access the 3D menu. Always really cool, being able to zoom in and out of games like that. Just like the manuals, being able to flip them, really cool. Get this music back on. You gotta love the Earthworm Jim 2, bop bop. So you get the launch with here, you still get the Retroarch. So you can still pick all your different controllers, whatever you'd like to launch with if you want to go ahead. Again, the X input is always the default, so if somebody just runs through clicks play, just what happens. So you can go ahead and use that with an Xbox or an X input controller if you just keep smashing X, X, X. X. Maybe one more X on that. So this game should have, I think, a cool little soundtrack change. Yep. But I don't even know where it grabs this. I don't even know if it's from the 6 edition. I don't know if that's actually in even anything. I must be some kind of cool part of the hack. But I actually love that soundtrack. It's actually even something a little bit different than, I think, the Sega CD. But it's probably like a combination of all the best songs from it. You can see the Retroarch shaders puts it into a nice uniform look for the Genesis. And then we can go ahead and quit. So that's an awesome section here. So now we can, while we're still here, we can go ahead and probably show the related games and all that. Let's go under a different section though. Let's go under Ghostbusters, just maybe the music will change too. I don't want to hear the same thing over and over. So we can go under like view related games. So man, we had such a great time playing Ghostbusters. Listen to the soundtrack. Oh, what could be better? I'm gonna go under related games. So we're gonna have here recommended, similar, and possible ports. So hey, it saw that well, I don't know if it saw, I don't even know what it would be that I'm talking about, but Earthworm Jim is a very similar game to this, which is true. It's a side-scroller. So it'll give you recommendations. You can go ahead and, if you have it in your setup, let's say Megaturrican, it'll take you right over to that game. The other cool thing about it is that it'll use the Vision theme, because you'll still have Coverbox fragments for everything else, but you'll go ahead and be able to kind of, well, see your games in a little bit of a different way without any type of encumbrance. Like you're not really having to like switch themes or go into a menu or change something, but if you go through the related games and you pick a game through there, you'll have access to seeing the game using Vision. So you can do cooler stuff here, like being able to turn the box art right there, having access to the same stuff like launch with. But also, you can go back to that section and go under like similar games, maybe something that's not Genesis. Well, I guess it's really recommending a bunch of Genesis stuff. Let's try maybe possible ports. I mean, I might have these, it's just like they're obscure systems, maybe like Atari 800. I'm assuming I have all these. Okay, well, Atari 800 actually, I don't have Atari 800 on this system, yeah, that makes sense. But I have it on the Commodore 64, so you can see that if you have it in your setup, even if it's something obscure like Commodore 64, you can have it here, obscure. I'm not gonna down it like that. But yeah, you can go ahead and still click View Manual. Go ahead and zoom in. Quit out of that. You can still go ahead and view all the different achievements. Oh, it's not available here. But in this particular one, because it's probably the MDU change, right? So it's not really, it doesn't have the correct source, CRC, check, whatever. But yeah, so we were going to do related games. Let's see if it's another one in a different section here, like Super Nintendo. There we go, Megaman X. Takes us into Vision and straight into there, so you can click play and you'll be able to launch it. So that being said, I can show how the search works here. So what we're doing in a section, if you're in a section like Coverbox, you'll be searching in only Genesis. So if you're in this section here and you're trying to do a search, so right now if I look up Sonic, let's say, this is going to look up every single game that has the word Sonic in it in the collection. So Arrow Wings is also called like Sonic Fighters, so it'll just look through your entire collection. So if you're just looking for something that's Sonic or something that's Mario, you can just press that one button, search the name of the game, and you know, take a look at all the different sections. Vision will come up here and show you different like systems. So, you know, there's PlayStation 2, there's the Xbox version. You can still, I mean, see the cover of the game, so you can visually know which section you're in, and also the art updates on the left there and all that. So if you're actually going in a section like the Genesis, let's say, once you're actually in Coverbox though, so we have to go into like North America, let's say. Now if we do a search for Sonic, sorry, I keep changing the songs in the background as we're going. That's me doing that. So we're doing Sonic. Now it'll show us just the Genesis section games that contain Sonic. So if you're trying to search something a little bit faster, you can do so really quick. Then I can go ahead and find, you know, oh, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, because I know I was in the Genesis section, I'm searching for Sonic. Now I can find all my Sonics really quick and easy. Yeah, so that's that section there. So that's the searches, related games. Let's also take a look at the Discovery Center before we start talking about Coverbox, fragments and all those. So the way this works is we bring up the Discovery Center by pressing a button on the controller. Like I'm doing all this in the back here with my controllers. So what the Discovery Center is, it allows you to kind of explore your collection in a different, unique way. So it'll sort of give you suggestions such as like your favorite games. So these are just based on your favorites in your collection. Explore games with achievements. So this section will just show you a bunch of games that have retro achievements. So maybe something might pop up in this section here and you'll be like, oh! You can also see that your art's displayed a little bit different here. Like you can see, oh, and it's playing the music of Techno Cop. So it'll play the songs of whatever section that you just kind of scroll over to, which is kind of neat. But it's kind of like just recommendations. So as you can see, it's N64. And the cool thing about having all the monitor setups here is that on the left, you can see that the monitor shows you the box art of Earthworm Jim 3. So even though like the Discovery Center, maybe not, it's too obvious that you're looking at the N64 version of Earthworm Jim 3D, you can see by the art on the left there that, hey, you know, it's in the N64 section. So this is just fun to kind of bring up every now and then to just explore your collection in different ways, you know, see different parts. Yeah, you can always exit now. I actually have my select button on the controller set to always come back right to the main menu. So no matter what menu you're in there, no matter what section you're in, if I'm in arcade and I'm in the AM2 section, let's say, then I'm like, oh, I just want to go right back to the start. I just go press the select button, takes me right back there. So everything's really easy and accessible. Like the search, I'm just pressing the left stick in there, then it just pops that up here. So it makes it really cool. The shader updates I'll talk as I'm kind of going over all the different sections, so I don't really need to touch on that too much just yet, I guess. Yeah, let's talk about the Genesis section here. Well, actually, the Genesis, I'm sure, isn't... let's go on to the Super Nintendo. Let's do that. So the Super Nintendo is going to be updated to Coverbox. And plus, I added a couple new sections here. So we added some fastROM hacks. If you find these online, very interesting. What these are is that what I learned is that Nintendo manufactured, or somebody, whoever was the manufacturer, could choose whether or not you had like a slower bank or a faster bank type chips, like a memory type chip. And if you had, and well, I guess my understanding is that the programmers worked with fastROM, fast banks as kind of like the standard of what they would work with when they're creating the games, they're doing the programming. But to save money, a lot of times the manufacturers would use the slow bank versions of these. So it puts the Super Nintendo to be slightly slower, like 2.8 megahertz instead of like 3.2. So what these hacks would do is actually, not in the emulator changes themselves, but in the ROMs themselves, to be patched to make sure that they're using the fast bank ROMs. I don't know how that kind of makes sense in an emulation sense, but I thought that's just really cool to have these. So that's what that section is, if you find those online. Then I also added... oh, I think that was all that I added for the Super Nintendo sections. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cover box and how it looks in Super Nintendo. But take a look at the fastROM section, why not? So this is cover box now for Super Nintendo. Looking fantastic. Again, it's about the movement. I love that movement in this. It's always about everything kind of flowing as you're going through. As you bring up stuff, you can still see the back of the box comes up, and I love that for the Super Nintendo, there's that movement of all those games there on the right. I just love how that kind of scrolls by like that. That's wonderful. I don't know, just the visual impact of that is just great. And also take a look at how the controller or the game comes out. And I always take a look at Aladdin every damn video. It's Aladdin. I don't know. It's just one of those things. It starts with A, and it's just a childhood memory. So Aladdin, the game card comes out. Let's take a look at one more maybe instead.
Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those two others
maybe
were
let's
killed?
go under. Let's actually take a look at Earthbound. Yeah. So Earthbound, nice and chill. Gotta love the music for that one, of course. So we're gonna go under here. Actually, let's take a look at the game coming out too. Ah, love it. I love the song too. Absolutely killer. So again, yeah, you get view manual. So this is with every section. I pretty much have every manual for all the different games. I love being able to interact with it. Again, you can interact within any section too, so it's still really nice and streamlined. You don't have to go through different sections, even if you're in something obscure, like these fast bank ROM hacks. You still have access to the same stuff. Everything's still set to being the same. You can do Retroarch, the NetPlay host. Viewing related games, viewing the achievements. This one probably has more, no, because it's a color hack, or it's a hack, so it's not going to be able to come up here with that. Launch with, you still have all the different options of whatever way you would like to launch it. And yeah, you just click play. And again, obscure sections like the fast bank ROMs, they still all launch the same way, use the same media, the same Retroarch filters, which are now updated really nicely. So I'll have to take a look in the recording to see if it still has that sort of grid effect over it again, or if that's also been corrected now that I made some changes in this. But yeah, there's no grid effect on the TV, it just looks really cool. Trust me, bro. But yeah, it actually makes it look really good. But this game isn't visually too impactful at the start here, so I mean, it's Earthbound. Everyone's seen Earthbound. But it just looks really cool with the Coverbox Fragments presentation of it. So now that that's been shown here, let's go ahead and talk about some other changes to the uniformity, along with... Alright, hello, welcome back. Sorry, had a kitty emergency, so I had to go take care of that. Had to jump back into this here. So we're going to be jumping back into, I think, where I left off, which is the Nintendo GameCube section. So with Nintendo GameCube, what I wanted to stress and show is that Retroarch is now the default, and what that sort of looks like, and how that kind of looks inside the emulators themselves, and the menus, I mean. So the GameCube isn't necessarily Coverbox Fragments, it's still under Coverbox. I don't think there's a Fragments for it yet. But what we're going to see here is how everything is a lot more uniform. Again, that's one of the biggest things I'm stressing with this whole setup here, is everything has some sort of cohesion to it. So sure, Soul Calibur II, let's try this. So this is what Launch With looks like now. So all the same options are still here that I had before. You can still use the real GameCube joystick and all that. But now Retroarch is the default. Retroarch X input is now the default. So if you're just mashing play, you're pressing X, it'll take you straight into Soul Calibur 2 with an X input in Retroarch. Since we're here, I thought I can show that Retroarch also is able to do the GameCube controllers. So we're going to tag out these 8-bit Do2s. Just have to hold the start and eventually we'll tag out here. There we go, I just wasn't holding it properly. I think the GameCube controllers are already tagged in on the USB over there. So like in my other videos, I just go over to the command station, flip a switch, enables the GameCube adapter to work, and then you can go ahead and use these wired in controllers. So we can go ahead and, sure, we can create a new save. Saves work there, as you can see. Now, so with Retroarch, I love the fact that, again, it shows up with the TV there. The filters make or the shaders make everything look amazing. I love the uniformity again, that now it has the TV bezel, just like all the other sections have it. And honestly, it just looks really sharp in this. Like, with the shaders and how it handles just the way it looks, like it's just really good. So, as you can see, I'm playing with the GameCube controller. So you can still go ahead and recreate that old school GameCube feeling, but that's what I love about the shaders in this. It just makes everything so uniform. I just love how it brings everything in the setup to super confusion. So you can quit out of this here. But that's the main thing I wanted to show with this. So we'll flip off the GameCube controllers, and then we'll also show the 8-bit DOS again. And I'll just pick another game here, but just press X to kind of go through and just start it up. Sure, let's try Spiderman. So again, we're just button mashing play, pressing X. It'll go through Retroarch now, but you still have that option to pick if you like to go through Dolphin. So if maybe something isn't emulating properly in Retroarch for whatever reason, don't like the way it looks, or if you want to start enabling like the widescreen, well then that's what Dolphin is sort of for, and that's how I envision using that part of the setup now. But again, having this, just get me in. Oh please, just get me in.
This is how my story began.
Just love the way it looks. We'll quit through this here.
This is supposed to be the Skull's territory.
Yep, so as you can see, maybe we'll pick a different game to try out for that, but that's what I mean. Then if you don't feel like using Retroarch, because as you saw there, kind of look a little bit wonky for whatever reason, well, all we need to do is just go under here. We can go next input. Yep, I don't know why I was thinking about that for a second. So we pick this, and now it's going to actually load it through Dolphin. And hopefully it looks a little bit different. And so you can see this way it takes advantage of the screen a little bit more. You have a little bit more widescreen to it. Have the latest Dolphin fixes applied. Well, let's take a look and see if it does make a difference. Go under New Game, take a look, Classic, Control Stick, Normal.
This is how my story began.
And now we still pay close attention to our compass and height meter like we did before. And alright, let's take a look here. There we go.
This is supposed to be the Skull's territory.
Yes, so there you
I'll
go.
find
So
Uncle Ben's killer if I have to go through every one of the
we now
skulls
have
to
a use
do it.
case out of it. Isn't that cool? I guess. So as you can see, through Retroarch might have had some problems. You don't really have to muck around. You don't have to go through all these different menus. I just went wham blam, thank you, load it up, and we're in Spiderman and Dolphin, which seems to kind of work better for this particular game. Not necessarily for every game, just for this one. So we can quit. And we still have things like I mentioned from the previous sections. You can go under related games. Not really sure. Well, maybe it's just recommending Quest for Glory because I'm not too sure that I could have recommended from Spider-Man, but food for thought maybe. You just love the manual. So like I mentioned, all the different sections, all the different games, you're still able to access that. Gotta go through. Again, Retroarch, because you're able to launch it through there, you can host sessions, join them through a different two-player. Yeah, so that was one of the big changes I made there. Moving on to another section, let's take a look. NES. Well, first, that's more of a Coverbox Fragments thing, so I'll just show all the different Retroarch changes that I made. Oh, those were more of a shader update. Let's take a look. Shader update. PS2 uses Retroarch. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like here. So let's try North America, sure. Actually, I think PS2 is Coverbox Fragments too. So we can take a look at this while we're in the section. I love the movement again. You have the PS2 loading type screen in the background there. I don't know what to call it exactly, but then every time you just leave it over a game. PS2 pops out. CD shows you there. Wonderful, beautiful. So add some more movement to everything, like I mentioned before. Kind of just gives some life to things. Just makes it look a lot prettier than it did before. Maybe take a look at one more game here, sliding out. Beautiful. Discard is there. You pick it, blows up the back guard on the back of the screen there, still perfectly fine. Launch with. So now launch with looks a little bit different again. So now you have the Retroarch, the 3. You still have everything else that you had before, and keep in mind that like X input in Retroarch is arcade panel too, because it emulates a keyboard at the same time, so that covers the arcade panel also in all this. But yeah, and this is what it'll launch with if you're just going through play. Maybe let's see if there's any type of like a little bit of a better game than that. Aeon Flux? That sounds fun. I remember Aeon Flux on MTV. So we can bring up the game, still view the manual, zoom in on manuals, zoom out of manuals. Yeah, you can still see all that. So now let's just go, yeah, let's go play. Just to show, I guess. Well, I guess this probably would be cool to show with a D input, I guess. That still works because it's a PlayStation, but maybe I'll show that with the PlayStation 1 section, which will be coming up right after this, I suppose. Yeah, so gets the game ready for you here. So again, with Retroarch being the default, the uniformity of the TV bezels there, uniformity of the shaders, the reflections. Yeah, you can see PlayStation 2 still loads up there. The shaders still make everything look really nice. Again, it just has this sharpness to it. Videos play really well in this. And again, just like we saw in Spider-Man, I keep saying we, just whatever. Just like in Spider-Man there, when if you see something that doesn't launch properly for whatever reason in Retroarch, you still have the option of using PCSX2, which is up to date, and also would be full screen, so with widescreen patches, so another way to leverage the versatility of the system. So not only can you pick like your different controllers and your launch widths, you can also change your widescreen if you technically would like to. But yeah, I don't know how it'll come up in the recording. Hopefully look really cool too, but it's super sharp. I love the... Oh, it actually makes the room look kind of cool too with all the lights in this one. But it looks really sharp. I don't know why it keeps... Okay, just let me go ahead and continue on, please. Thank you. But yeah, that's enough of this, I think. It's just really cool to show. I love, again, the uniformity. And now we can quit with the controller really easily and have that nice game over screen as you're quitting out of everything, which is really nice. You can see how when you input out, you're back into this cool looking CD menu. Everything about this is just really cool. So that's Coverbox Fragments also for the PlayStation 2, how that sort of looks here in this setup now. Maybe I'll just scroll through a few menus here. So that's that. Let's move on to the PlayStation. I think we actually have to show Coverbox Fragments for it, so while we're here, might as well. So here's Coverbox Fragments with the PS1 looking awesome. I love the color splash. When you're going on that too extreme there and it has that. Oh, I remember those from the demo discs. I'm 100% sure that's what the inspiration was for that, I'm assuming. Well, I mean, it's in general the PlayStation, I guess, had that color splash. But wow, I love it. I love the CD art, the way it kind of displays it there in Coverbox Fragments here. I love the Sony PlayStation pops out there, has the CD spinning like that. And again, we have view manual, so we can access that. We can go in, we can scroll through. Pick a new song at any point in case if there's something too harsh. And yeah, if there's the actual song, there you go, Actua Soccer has a song associated with it, so we'll play that instead. But I love that. Makes this look fantastic, and the whole section really pop, that's for sure. Looks beautiful. I'll have to probably even make another video detailing Coverbox Fragments and just that, because it's a lot to show. Oh, hell yeah. Get something like this going too. Hopefully the song never changes. We'll just continue on through this now. Neo CD, just more of a shader change there to make it uniform and nice. Same with Neo Geo, make it nice. Saturn I think always used Retroarch. So other than touching the shaders there, making it look nice, not much changes here, but it's Coverbox Fragments, everybody! Wabam! Oh, look how beautiful it looks for the Saturn. I love how the box art on the Saturn, I don't know if it'll come out on the video as well, but it's a little bit dirty. like it's just using like a real Saturn type of box edge on the left, and I just love that. It just makes everything look really natural. I love how it's also a little bit blurry for the games, like the font on the right there, like if you go over Batman Forever, well just anything there really, you'll see that it's a slightly discolored, like a grayish. I love it. It just makes it look fantastic. And let's go into something fun like Crypt Killer. Sure. But you can see, you go into like Crypt Killer, it blows up the box art beautifully on the back right before you're about to play. You're able to still go into the view manual, take a look at all that. Yeah, Decathlete. Looks great. I love how the CD player in the bottom right changes as you're going through the games. I love how the description across the top is CDs coming from the right. Oh, just so good. Might have achievements. Nope. I don't know if maybe it's two separate things. Like maybe inside, if you launch the game, it'll still have retro achievements where again just doesn't show it here. I don't know. View manual though, again, still able to bring it up here, scroll through. No matter what section you're in, again, all the different subsections. Yeah, you can still do the net play, host, and join. I won't launch anything here because it's just a shader cleanup. It just made sure it's all nice and uniform with everything else, but all my other videos I still used it. Genesis, yeah, I think I showed that earlier, so Dreamcast. So with Dreamcast, it's going to be Coverbox Fragments, and also it's been changed to Retroarch rather than Redream as a default. I don't think I added a new section, no. So let's just go under all games here, we'll take a look. So we're going to be going into Coverbox Fragments. It looks beautiful, again with the case art. It looks super amazing with the Dreamcast because it just looks how I remember it. Almost kind of like a glass overlook on it. You see the CD coming on the right there with it churning. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Crazy Taxi 2. It's always a classic. I think I always show this one though, so let's not play it. But I love how the fact that it will swipe. Awesome. And then we're going to go ahead. Dead or Alive 2. Yeah, let's do that one. I don't think I showed this one, and it'll probably look pretty cool. So you see it scrolling in there. Same stuff here. You can see your manual. You still have access to all that here all the time. Still do the Retroarch netplay host now and everything. This is what the launch with now looks like. So you still have all the redreams that you had before. You can still select them if for, again, whatever reason, Retroarch doesn't work, doesn't play it very well. You can still select it right here. You don't have to go into too many submenus and nothing gets too confusing. But yeah, if you just go start, it's now going to be Retroarch X input as the default. So let's just go play. It'll go now loading and then launch it up. Hopefully it comes through in the recording for this one too. How much the shaders make it look really pretty. So here comes the Dreamcast swirl. Retro achievements on the top left. Actually, I'll probably take a look at the view achievements menu, because you can see it that you were in the retro achievements there. We'll see if it actually brings up the achievements in LaunchBox. But see again, now because Retroarch is default, you go ahead and have the TV bezel there again, looking beautiful. You have the, reflection.
Get ready!
And finally, you also have the shaders just making everything look so sharp. So sharp. But not too different from how I remember looking at Dreamcast. Like, it just enhances it enough in my opinion that it's just absolutely fun. I absolutely love it. Plays really well.
Get ready! Fly!
Gorgeous. Now we can also quit using start and select, and then go right back to the main menu. And again, just because with the versatility of the whole setup here that you can do with LaunchBox, because LaunchBox is amazing, you just have to select it right here. View achievements. So okay, so they're not necessarily linked. I do definitely know that this is populated. Maybe there's just something that's causing it to not be populated right now. But yeah, we can see Retro Achievements works inside, but it doesn't populate here, so good to note. View 3D model, you can still do cool stuff. Cool stuff like that, like zooming in on the box art, spinning it and all that. Again, it's all about uniformity here again and some sort of a cohesive experience. So that's why we do that. Sega CD I don't think has been updated. 32X hasn't been. CDI I think was just a shader update I did. Wii is still using Dolphin and only Dolphin. I mean, I feel with Wii... yes, I feel with Wii I think it's still enough of a newer system that you go into widescreen right away. Everything was widescreen. It was just, at that point on, everything changed. And it's fine to just use Dolphin for that. I don't know what song that was supposed to be. Super Nintendo. Yeah, I think I went into the fastROM section and all that. The cohesion for that. GameCube, yeah, I guess we covered everything. Oh, Nintendo, Coverbox Fragments. Let's take a look and see what that looks like here. So, whoa, love it. I was split at the start because I love Coverbox so much for the Nintendo because it just captures the box art of the Nintendo. But again, it's lacking the movement. And I really feel the movement of this theme is just so wonderful. It really brings the whole cohesion aspect of everything together. It just really steps it up to make it look something from like almost like a professional sheen over everything. That's just my opinion again. I mean, definitely could think this is just amateurish, but I think it just makes it look beautiful. You can still go into it, blows up the back box art, so you can see Adam's family there. I love how it uses the Nintendo NES font for this. Oh, be still my heart. Just love that. You can bring up the manual here. Again, you can zoom in and out. Stressing ease of use of this whole setup, having access to this without a billion sub-menus. Yeah, I just wanted the Addams Family song back on, honestly, so I just want to come back to it. But now, so with LaunchBox, it still looks the same. I mean, you can still have all the different options, so the different controllers, whatever you want to go through. Exit input always being the default. Let's go take a look at related games. But even if you wanted to take a look at related games of the same system, so because again, related games uses the Vision theme, let's bring up Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja. Oh, I guess it's Amstrad, never mind. There we go, Kid's Son and Fantasia. No, let's try Holy Diver because I know this one must be there. Because this is a Nintendo game. So, so you can see that I picked a Nintendo game. It'll still use the Vision theme in that particular way, so if you go under the related games. So it gives you another way, like I mentioned, to kind of explore the same section using a different theme in a different way without any type of encumbrance, really. It's kind of neat. I think it's kind of like a little bonus. And yeah, we can even go under similar games. Yeah, it kind of knows that, hey, you know, if you like Addams Family, you probably like Pugsley's Scavenger Hunt. We can go under that here, launch it. Still works the same, like if you launch through here, you just launch. I guess it's kind of cool to show that it works, for curiosity's sake. And, yep, you see the retro achievements going there. You'll see the cool shaders going on, playing it here, and having all the reflections going, everything really nice. You can quit out of it, takes you right back to the main menu again. Into Vision, you can go back out of there. And yes, this is what Coverbox Fragments looks like for the Nintendo. Love it. Make sure you take a look at I'm sure it'll be in my description here for this one, if not it's in the bio. Where to find Coverbox Fragments. Grab it, support it, leave a review. I encourage them to keep going because they are amazing. I mean, look at this. This is a work of art. Yeah, so let's move on. Well, yeah, N64 is Coverbox Fragments now, so let's take a look and see what that looks like. Yeah, it's just under all games. So this comes in here like this, looks beautiful. You can see Coverbox Fragments. Let's take a look at 1080 snowboarding just for, well, maybe not that one, because it doesn't have a video. Let's just look at 007 World, not enough. So it'll swipe away, it'll show the cartridge really nice. Look at that N64 spinning. Oh. The details come up there, shows the clear logo pulsing, shows the cart in the system there. How much better can you get? Let's look at like something like GoldenEye. So also with the setup here, you just have to press left to go under like a quick search for like alphabet there. It's pretty cool. GoldenEye. I love this. So you go ahead here, GoldenEye comes up, logo spinning, view manual. Again, with the N64, I think I already always had it as Retroarch, so I've just cleaned up the filters and shaders to make sure it's all nice and uniform. We have View 3D model still here. I guess I don't show this very often for the N64, so that's really cool. It actually kind of looks like box art. You can spin it, take a look at it. I'm always in the back here, by the way, just interacting with the controller, that's all. LaunchBox, still have the N64 controller there. But yeah, we could probably take a look at a few games for just to see what Coverbox Fragments looks like for the N64. Looking amazing. Yeah, so I think that's enough for the N64. TurboGrafx CD, I think those are just shader cleanups. Yeah, shader cleanups here all around. Trying to think, oh yeah, color hacks for the Genesis. I think this is kind of neat. They're just kind of like more color corrections. So it just kind of, well, I think I showed Aladdin before, so we can recognize what the colors look like. Even in this video, you can see how the colors sort of look, what Aladdin looks like. And we can again stress that we're in this different section here. This is the color hack section, but you still have access to the view manual. You don't really have to jump around to anything. You just click play, it'll toss you into it and just launch it with the X input as the default. But we can see what it looks like as these color hacks. So I think what they do is they enhance the color palette. Well, even Genie kind of looked a little bit more colorful there. This window looks about the same, I think. Maybe the font there looked a little bit. This looks a little bit the Aladdin, maybe. But here, like Aladdin himself, like his vest is purple, definitely. That's a different purple. I think there's a little bit more purple around his fez there, I think. At least, yeah, I was pretty sure. And that sky blue, like I can see that the sky blue looks a little bit more sky bluish. I think the camel has a little bit more blue in it. Yeah, it just kind of almost makes it feel like it's more of a Super Nintendo game. It's kind of neat if the Genesis had access to like this kind of color palette, but it decided to just not use it without, maybe more development time to be able to properly put it in. It's neat. I love it. But that's the beauty of the setup here. You can just quickly jump into something like that, nice and easy. You just go straight into that section, and you're able to find stuff. And again, if you ever want to jump right away to get out of something, you just press select, takes you out. Really quick, I think I'll show that Retroarch. I think this one with the shaders looking different is kind of good enough that it's kind of cool to show. I guess maybe going into all games wasn't the best of ideas because there's going to be so many games here to scroll through. All I was honestly looking for is Doom. But now we're going to have to scroll through that horrible sound. Sorry, everyone. But there we go. Let's go with Doom 2. Or the EXO mod? Let's see what that kind of looks like. I wonder if it works for Retroarch. We'll run a test case out of this. Why not? We'll click play. This should be Retroarch. I think I clicked on the X input, so it should automatically pick this. Unless I forgot what section I was in. Oh, I see. Yeah, EXO has so many stuff here. I don't know what this is going to look like. All hell. All hell breaking loose. Oh, neat. Okay, so that's how I guess you can go ahead and pick it. Yeah, let's see what this is about. Kind of neat. So with Retroarch now, you can see I put it back to the TV. Like I didn't put the curvature on it. In the end, I thought, yeah, curvature seems a little bit wrong. If I kept the TV, I might look into changing that to a PC monitor. But I kind of like this. Just have it. Nice like this. But yeah, this is great. So again, I'm just controlling it with the little X input controller here. But but that's cool enough to warrant a quick showing. Again, when I stress that there's a shader uniformity now, that's what I mean by everything looks a lot more conformed. Then if you like go into like Doom 2, yeah, I was waiting for a view manual to pop up. You can view the manuals for a lot of the PC games. It wasn't under the Exodos because Exodos is just a combination of a bunch of different menus, really. But yeah, you can still have the same access to things. You can still host and join. Actually, that would be really cool. Doom 2 or something like that, working through like Retroarch netplay to make it simple, or air quotes simpler, to just host and join and being able to just play. Oh, that's actually really cool. I'm gonna have to be playing around with that. And you still have all your different launch with, well, I guess not in this section. This section is set up here to just have a default emulator set to PX input. Yeah, I think Atomiswave just had more of a cleanup. I can go under the Atomiswave section. I guess just to show what it looks like. I'm just going to launch Dolphin Blue because I think I did the uniform shaders to make it look a little bit different. Oh, right, because now the arcade looks a little bit better, I think, and just slightly different. So again, with these sections still have the nice borders, because arcades usually have borders, so to keep that feel. Oh yeah, with Atomiswave I made a change also to not use any of the 2x psi. I feel keeping things pixel is still best, like keeping it without any type of enhancements in that sense. Just to keep the look of it anyway, the general old school look of it, correct, and how I remember it looking. So that's just what that looks like really quick. I thought I'd show that. And also I thought I'd show the arcade, I guess, really quick too. Just what the shaders look like for this. Sure, let's just go Simpsons. You can hear it with Simpsons. It has the sound in it, or the music, so it'll play that when you're in this section here. One change I made in Coverbox for the arcade, if you're curious, is that I removed, there's like a scratch effect on PNG. I think it's just in the theme folder itself. You just delete that scratch JPEG, I think it is, or something like that. It removes the scratch look over Coverbox for the arcade section. Next little Retroarch host. And yeah, you click play. We can take a look and see what the shaders look like for this. I'm curious again, I'll take a look in the recording and the playback to see if it has that grid effect again, if it's still captured or not. So this is mapped to player 1 is Marge, this is a 4-player game. All I have to do is tag in all 4 8-bit controllers. So if I technically want to be player 2, I've got player 2. Player 3 would have to be the third controller. Unless I get jump up to the arcade cabinet, where you can just press the tag in for the person. But I think the filters look, or the shaders look really nice. It really makes the game like just looks polished to everything with it launching like this. This makes me very happy to see. So all we have to really do now is come up here. So let's say I'm player 2 here. So I can press player 2 here, and now I'm Homer. I guess Homer here. Yeah, looks really good, even up close with the shaders, it actually does it. But I guess one thing, since I'm here, I don't know if I show it too often, just grab this and you can just pull it back like I do here. And it goes back pretty far, if you can go back like 6 feet or so. And then also you don't have to be so up close right up to the arcade all the time. You can just play from back here, have that nice distance. It actually looks much better. Like if I'm playing from the couch back there, it actually looks really amazing just it looks sharper, but you have to have that nice distance for such a big TV. And about here, it's just perfect, especially for 4 players to have people sitting on the 2 sides here. So I'll probably keep this size of an arcade panel when I do my changes later, when I work on that upgrade and that change. Then we just quit out of this here. So the double quit confirm, you press it twice now just to make sure, so in case somebody's not button mashing up there, you can go ahead and still not accidentally quit. Still have that double confirm. And you still even have the manuals for this, so even if the old school arcades it has a manual for it, you can just select it in this menu. Yeah, and I think that's the main changes that I've done. Everything else again are just more shader cleanups. PSP, I guess, I can show what that looks like. Well, it's not interesting enough. It's still the same sort of look visually, just cleaned up. Maybe I'll do a different video for that. Oh yeah, ScummVM. I'll also show that really quick. Alright, this is the section, and the one that's specifically set up like this. So let's try Curse of Monkey Island. So this is the same old theme, but it kind of looks cool. I honestly forgot which theme this one is. But it has some cool sections set up for things like ScummVM. So you can still go view manual, again, even though you're on the different sections. Take a look at that before you play. Get yourself vested in that. I love it. View the 3D model. Love it. It's like having a box art, or having the box Secret Monkey Island there. Oh, and I love songs like this that come up. Another one of the reasons why having OC Remix in the background your setups is wonderful, because you can come across songs like this again. Take a look at them, go up over to your OC Remix. Yeah, you have like the dig for Retroarch, and again you can just pick that and click through. Yeah, so click play. So you're not going to have the curvature, which I think is a pretty big difference. I feel like it makes a significant enough of a difference to warrant showing it. Get the mouse out of the way there. But we're controlling it with the controller. Nicely formatted again. You can see how all the reflections and TV bezel all looks the same. Well, let me just get into again, the shaders in Retroarch just make this look so amazing. I hope it comes through on the recording here, but I can't stress that enough.
Scurvy dogs!
How amazing that is.
Stay away!
Love it.
I'm Guybrush Threepwood. Who are you?
I'm the evil pirate,
I love that line.
Bloodnose, the wickedest...
And then we can quit out of it, just like that. Oops, or we can probably press the button twice by mistake and launch it twice. We'll give it a second to see if it'll... Yeah, we'll launch again. But yeah. I can quit there. I think that's the biggest thing. Also, stuff like Amiga isn't curved anymore either. So I guess that's okay to show. Oh, I think that was the last one I showed. I don't want to do that one. That was loud, man. Breed. Alien Syndrome. Sure. Launch with you can still see. Let's go play. I'll just quickly show, I guess, what the shader looks like now for this. So Amiga, hard to center. This is about as good as I could get it. But I think it's worth it, because the shaders just make it look really good. Try to remember what button does what. Start to button mash to hopefully get through everything. Looks like you remember one button to get to one menu. Oh my lord. Okay, the gist of what this is there. It looks really cool. That's about as as goodly centered as I could get it, but it's really cool. Yeah, let's back out of this now. Yeah, so let's go into the last part of the segments here that well, I guess that's everything that I updated. Let me think about things here. I think. Oh, Wii Coverbox, I think, is still another one I haven't shown here. So Coverbox Fragments I've also updated for the Wii. Let's see what that looks like here. So this is what Coverbox Fragments looks like for the Wii. Let's change the song here. Again, same, add some uniformity and some movement to everything. Has that cool disc sliding out there from the side. Love it. Take a look at another game before we bring up the next menu. Alice in Wonderland. Even for a bunch of games like this, you can see it still makes it look really cool. Oh, well, I guess this isn't a budget game. This is based on the movie with Johnny Depp. But it's cool. Oh, love it. Disc spinning there, so you can bring it up. I love how in this section the Wii box art is centered like this. Oh, looks beautiful. You can go ahead, launch with, so still have all the different sections here. Again, just like before, nothing's really changed here. These are all the same ones I had before, but you can see you can select any way that you like to launch the game with. Again, I have GameCube listed here specifically because you can emulate, because the Wii had a GameCube input. So if for whatever reason your game needed a GameCube input for the Wii, you can still emulate that, and that's why it shows up here. But in the GameCube, only these 5 show up, and these Wii ones don't show up in the in the GameCube section. So, yeah, I don't know. I still don't think it's menu overload because it's still concise enough to be in just one menu here. That's just my opinion. And hey, Alien Syndrome. I guess the sequel to it years down the line that we just tried there earlier. Awesome, makes it slide out there. I love how the play and the game list shows you and animates, goes up and down. I think that's super. So yeah, I can probably just show a few games here. Just show how Coverbox Fragments looks. Alright, that's that. Let's go into, I think, let's see if there's another one. PS1, PS2 I showed. Oh, Xbox, I don't think I showed that one here, so let's go into the Xbox Coverbox Fragments theme. Let's start off with, let's just go into all games. There is no Retroarch core for Xbox, which I don't think there is, so can't really have this set up here with the TV, but I mean, I think Xbox is a kind of air quote officially when it was widescreen. I'm pretty sure most of these were widescreen, so even if it's using XEMU, still fine. So this is a Coverbox Fragments, looking amazing. It kind of resembles the Xbox 360 one. I love the movement it brings to everything. I love the way the disc slides out again. Looks amazing. Disc spins. Amp 2 looks amazing. Love it. Let's see it slide out for a second. Oh yeah. Give me that nostalgia. And then you bring it up like this. Looks amazing. I think I edited out the sounds here just because, again, uniformity, didn't want something like that. But you have the back box art coming up here that you can take a look at. You still got the launch with area accessible. I still got manual accessible. So just like every other section, if there's a manual available for the game, which again most of them do, if we've been seeing through this video, you're able to kind of bring it up, scroll through. But yeah, I think that's... I think I'll just kind of show what Coverbox looks like for this. A few more games.
I'm a get medieval on
Jeez. Like, where the hell did that come from? Because it's part of the song. Let's go on to the next one. Well... Breeders' Cup. Looking good. Yeah, I think that's kind of conveying the idea of this. Alright, so now moving on to the final part, I guess, of the video here, and kind of will go and show a couple of what LaunchBox looks like. Let's go into the NES section. So now we have a new section here. It's called 3D Sen. 3D Sen is an emulator for, well, I mean, it's an emulator that interprets the Nintendo in any new way. You literally loaded a ROM, just same ROM you would for like any other emulator for the Nintendo, so like the Mario ROM. And what it'll do is it'll actually apply a 3D effect to the entire game. And the neat thing about this menu here too is that you don't really need to kind of incorporate into like some weird setup or a different menu, or you get confused about how to find it because you're not in a Nintendo section anymore, or you forget how to get back to it because, you know, 3D Sen isn't really, you know, in somebody else's other section. So it's still in the Nintendo section. That still launches with Retroarch under like license and unlicensed, which just uses Retroarch, but this section will only use the 3D Sen emulator. So by default. So if we just go into 3D Sen, it'll still use the same themes, they'll look the same, but the games themselves will be launching in 3D Sen. So I'll explain how that also works and looks in Retroarch, or in LaunchBox. So first what we'll do is we'll just click play. So we're in the 3D Sen, well, let's try Castlevania. It'll launch just like any other game. And in 3D Sen, X input is automatically mapped and the keyboards are automatically mapped. So right now if I step up to the arcade panel, it will just, you can use that, or the X input controller. 3D Sen is a paid-for emulator. This is the newest version of 3D Sen. I bought it, I'm using it, and I set up all the different ROMs in it. So one of the first things you can see, you can manipulate it with your controller to kind of get a different view on it. You can also do things like zoom in, and then you can start controlling it like you would anything else. So you have to remember this is actually using the Nintendo ROM. So there's nothing unique about this. This is just the Castlevania ROM that you would have and launch and anything else. But you can go ahead and take a look and experience games like this in this whole really cool new way. And I felt like that really warrants it being added to the setup. This one takes a lot of time though to set up. So I'll show a quick how-to. But every single game here, just like Technoparrot, you need to add individually. But I think it's worth it, just because it lets you explore your collection in a nice, cool new way. Like, now I can actually visually see, like, you're climbing up the stairs, or maybe I can go through this way. Yeah. I love that. And if you ever wanted to just reset the view, you just hold that, pop it right back, and you're right back into the original view. I think this emulator was $10, $10 US dollars, if you're looking to buy it online. And then you just add the ROMs yourself. So let's quit out of it here and try one more, because I think that's really neat. Quits the same way. You just press the eject button on the panel there, quits out of it. Let's try Ducktales. Yeah, let's see what that looks like. You just click play, and it'll go ahead and launch it. And again, you can still have access to the same stuff like you did before, like you still have access to the manual, related games, anything else that you like to do. It's kind of interesting. That's why you would think like a Nintendo game like has loading, but sure enough it does. It's probably because of the logic of trying to transform it into being 3D. It's kind of neat. He has to do that each time. Plays you some background music before tossing into the game. I think the Moon always had interesting music. Yeah, let's just continue on maybe. But this is literally using the same logic like you'd be playing in a Nintendo emulator. So there's nothing different about the way you approach this, or anything different about how the game itself plays, which is the coolest thing, especially now in rooms like this where you can really start seeing the effect coming through. Every game will have the effect be a little bit different. Some games definitely are better than others. So this is Ducktales. Let's try maybe like Megaman really quick here too before we show and jump into how it looks. Sure, let's try... Oh, just looking at the background, because this had that really black background, so it might look like Ducktales, but whatever, let's just launch it and see. Maybe we'll pick a robot that has a colorful background. Yeah, some games are load up faster than others. I don't know how long this one takes, so I don't know how much longer than a couple of seconds can it really take. But I think after this one, what I'll do is start just explaining how you're able to add 3D Sen to LaunchBox. And again, how you can go ahead and use that same concept to customize different emulators as the default. And how you add like certain ROM sets to a section to have it a little bit more unique. So let's go game start. Let's try Sparkman. It's kind of cool how it does the shadows there. Yeah, it's cool. So kind of lets you see things a little bit different. And yeah, you can see here. So if I was on the arcade cabinet also, if I feel like it, I can play it up here too. It's pretty cool. So quitting out of this here. So what we can do here now is explain how to add this and how to add like a certain section of games into a set. So what we do here is we switch to desktop mode. While we're switching there, we'll bring up the recording and then get the whole desktop to be here. And let's go into this. Alright, so the way that we're going to be adding this in any other section here, first what we're going to have to make sure is that we have the ROM set set up here. So whatever ROM set that you're going to be wanting to add in, make sure it's ready to go. So with 3D Sen, I already have the section set up here, but I'll use it as an example. I have all the games set up here that I would like to have in a 3D Sen section. This is the same if I have the same thing like for Europe. I have just the European ROMs that I would like to add that will be displaying here. And I'll be adding them as a grouping of just the European ROMs, and I'll be adding them as just the North American ROMs, and I'll be adding just translations. And each time I'll be adding these games individually. Sometimes I'll be reusing the same ROMs, sometimes I won't be, and I'll be using a whole duplicated set of ROMs. Now, duplicated is in air quotes because, I mean, like with 3D Sen, I just wanted them to be separate so that this Chippendales, it knows that this particular ROM is just for 3D Sen and it's just going to be launching with that. Retroarch will still use the Chippendales that I have set up over there. I mean, Nintendo games are like kilobytes in size. It really doesn't matter. So you'll definitely appreciate, I mean, not in this particular section, why having a large hard drive is useful, but you won't have to care about things like that. You can duplicate certain games without having to think about the size and how much space it takes up. So for 3D Sen, these are all individual games set up in 3D Sen. So for example, let me launch Contra, I guess. Even if you're in LaunchBox and not Bigbox, it'll still know that the default is 3D Sen for this section. I'm just launching this just to kind of explain how it looks inside 3D Sen itself. All the different game areas. I wish I picked a faster game to load. But we'll manage. Maybe I can even start clicking. Oh, I can. No, I can't. I have to wait till it's done. But there we go. So the game's loading here. So we press 7, we go under game. So in 3D Sen specifically, and you know, maybe think about whatever emulator you'll be working with later, all these are individual games you have to add in. So this is how I found the ROM list. This is how I know that I have every game listed. I just literally went through the list here, added every single game, made sure it has a separate folder with just these ROMs listed. Then you have to make sure you add each one individually. So like Flappy, you have to make sure you click on it, find your Flappy ROM, launch in it, and then make sure it's all set up. Once you're done with that here, all the ROMs are pre-configured. We just go quit. In particular, for 3D Sen, here I'll launch Windows Explorer. Inside the GameCube Studio, you'll see this 3D Sen folder. Inside the 3D Sen folder, which is in your app data, local low GameCube Studio 3D Sen, you'll see the rom.json. So it's a JSON file. You just have to open up the JSON file. Each game, after you add it in, you can see you can have my ROM paths there. They'll have an ID number. So 10 is Dig Dug, Donkey Kong is 11, Donkey Kong 3 is 12, Donkey Kong Jr. is 13. So you'll have to remember those particular ROM numbers, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So once you have those understood, you're going to be wanting to add the ROM set. So pretend 3D Sen's not here. We're going to be adding 3D Sen now for the first time. We're going to be importing the ROM files. We go next. And this is what I call isolation, essentially. You do this for any ROM set that you're trying to add in here. Again, European, North American, anything really at all. You always wanted to add it to a little bit of a quarantine area where you'll be managing its tags, how its metadata, things like that, before you actually be importing it into your ROM set itself in LaunchBox. So we're going to go add files. We're going to go under LaunchBox. No, we're not. We're going to go under where I have my ROMs. We're going to go under the ROM section. I have these under 3D Sen, so 3D Sen's here. Proper, just because once I had all the ROMs in the one set. So these are all the ROMs that you saw there earlier in the menus there. So these are all, oops. Pick up some cans from the ground in the background. We Control A. If you do Control A, it highlights everything, so you can just womp. And then we click on Open. And now we're going to have them all being added into whatever you're trying to do. Again, it doesn't have to be 3D Sen, it could be anything at all. And then for myself, this is a Nintendo thing. So Nintendo Entertainment System. The key thing here being is that we're not adding it to the Nintendo Entertainment System. You can literally call it anything else. I just added 2, whatever. Just as long as it's not called Nintendo Entertainment System, just 2. And then you would do the same thing for anything else, like Super Nintendo, just add Super Nintendo 2 for whatever ROM set that you'll be adding in, anything like that. Scrape as doesn't really matter. But choose an emulator. This is where you will need to go ahead and, let me show that really quick. So you also want to add 3DSen to your emulator list. You don't want it to appear in any of the sections. So like for example, I right click here, I go launch with, you don't see 3DSen listed in these here, and I don't really want it to be listed. I don't want this emulator to be used for anything else other than the 3DSen section, and I don't want to be confusing in any of the different menu sections. I just want it to be 3DSen used only for this and really hidden away from anything else. So we're going to be adding it as an emulator here. So we go under, where was I? Emulators. And then we're going to be adding it in. So pretend 3DSen wasn't here yet. We're going to be clicking on add. We would be finding 3DSen from the list here. If it's not in here, it's fine. We just call it 3DSen or whatever else you would like to call it. This just means if it's a pre-configured emulator that LaunchBox knows what it is, and it's like, hey, yeah, let me just set that up for you. I got you. 3DSen is probably here. Yep. So we go under emulators, and we just add 3DSen. And then we're going to be going under associated platforms. This is where we sort of associate to something so that I think you can add it, but you don't really have to be worried about it. This is only if LaunchBox says, you can't use this emulator, you need to add it to a section first. If it asks you for that, you just pick something here, even just create something you don't use, just slap it into like the Atari whatever, and then just call it this, and then it'll just be used for this. So LaunchBox goes away with that error saying that you don't have it associated with a platform. And I can explain how to change that later, but you add it in, and you just click OK, then you have the emulator added. So we go back to adding the ROM files. So we go next. We went to add files. We found the 3DSen, or again, any ROM set that you'll be working with. Control A to highlight them all. Go open. Go next. We were going to go Nintendo Entertainment System, but 2. Oops. Entertainment System 2. Let's give us Nintendo. Fine. Sounds good. So this is when we choose an emulator. So we're going to be doing 3DSen that we added there earlier in the emulator section. And then we go next. There you go. Then we go use the files in the current location. Go next. We don't really need to grab media right now, so we just click check none. We don't really need to grab any media from Emu movies yet, because we're going to be doing that later. The settings here at the end that I always pick, force import duplicate games, simply because you're going to be adding some duplicates here. This is like another Mario in 3DSen, but it might not add it if you don't force it to be duplicated. And also, you may or may not want to combine ROMs. This is if, if you're adding groups of Final Fantasy III, let's say, just out of whatever example, and maybe there's like 3 versions of Final Fantasy III. It'll group it up under just one Final Fantasy III section. So you'll be under Final Fantasy III, but then it'll be like additional absent versions. It'll show you the different Final Fantasy IIIs there in a nice little grouping, rather than having it, having Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy III, like a whole bunch of listings of the same thing over and over again. Sometimes you might want that, like for example in 3DSen, Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird I think is listed twice because one is like a first-person view. One is like just the game view, but you have to add the same ROM twice, and so you have to have the same ROM listed twice in the menu, particularly, so you can configure them both. So you don't want to combine them, so you would take off the combined ROMs if that's what you're looking for in in that particular setup. Again, that'll come down to whatever configuration that you're trying to do, whether it be like a European section or another emulator or whatever. Then you go next. Then it'll show you all the different games that you'll be adding here. I can go finish because it doesn't really matter. It'll go ahead and add the games into the section, and then you'll see it appearing underneath here. Games technically in quarantine. It'll be its own separate section on the left. There we go. So now we'll have Nintendo Entertainment section here, and a little bit different. We have all the games here. This is where we're going to be starting to manipulate things a little bit more. So to have it appearing, these are all the different sections that you saw there earlier, 3DSen, all games. These are all actual just playlist filters, so auto-populate filters. And what we're going to be looking for in particular for 3DSen, and I'll show like North America after this, is that the version in particular has to be equal to, and you'll see all these different variables and comparisons you can use. Is equal to, is not equal to, contains, doesn't contain. So whatever particular constraint you're looking for your section that you're trying to configure is what you'll be doing. In my use case here, I'm going to be looking for 3DSen, and that value is going to be in particular for the version. That's how we identify the section, and that's how 3DSen games show up. So even though these games will have duplicates, like I know I have another Adventure Island, but why it knows that this is a different Adventure Island is that you can see here the version in particular says 3DSen. So because it knows 3DSen, it's a little bit different. This particular ROM has this version as 3DSen, so it's going to list it again and not duplicate it. Well, I mean, it's going to duplicate it, but not combine it and not have the same listing for a Retroarch or anything like that. And so that's what we're going to be doing here. So what we'll do is highlight all of these. We're going to do bulk edit wizard. So we're going to be changing the version in particular for all these to whatever your use case is. Again, I'm going to be calling it 3DSen, but maybe for this example, 3DSen demo. Or it could be North America, it could be Europe, it could be a different, different ROMs, a different like the fastROMs or the color hacks, whatever section that you're trying to do in particular. And go next. Next. Then you go, nope, I would like to make more changes. Then you can see here, the version now says 3DSen demo. So if I want to go ahead and add a new section here, let's say a new playlist, let's say 3DSen demo, it'll go ahead and call it that. Again, whatever you like to call it, Europe, North America, whatever you'll be doing. You want to auto-populate this playlist, automatically sets it for Nintendo because that's the section that you're going to be in. Then you're going to be going into version, right? So we're looking for version is equal to, if you want it really specific, has at least one of, could be if it's something that's going to be a little bit more complicated of a term. But version, this will be 3DSen demo. I think I had it all as one word. And really that's all that this will be looking for. So we'll create this. Right now has nothing listed in it because none of my Nintendo ROMs have it as the version, as you can see there. So with these ones here, now we're going to pop it over to the Nintendo section. So we're going to do the all bulk media because now we're ready. We're like, yep, we got our filters set up that we would like, how the games will be displayed. Now we're going to go under platform, and then we're going to be Nintendo Entertainment System. There we go. Then we're going to go next. Next. No, I don't want to make migrate media. No, I'd like to make more changes. I guess we're done. And now all those games here will be displaying here. So now these sets of ROMs here are added a game. Now it's going to be a third time technically because these particular versions of these ROMs are labeled differently. So it's considered a totally different entry and not affecting like these 3DSens because these have a different version. So even though it's in the same section, it's still viewed as something totally separate. Now, the last thing that you have to keep track of here, in particular for 3DSen, is that all these games will have a particular version number. The only one I think I remember off the top of my head, because it was one of the first ones I configured, is Adventures of Lolo. So This is not something in particular you need to do for every emulator, because right now you'd be like, hey, I'm done. Like if this was like a Europe section, you would just double click and you'd be launching in Retroarch or whatever your emulator was. But in particular for 3D Sen, those IDs that I mentioned earlier in the roms.json file, that's where you'll be adding these. So you go edit the data of it, you go under emulation, use custom command profile, and then you do the ID numbers. So as I mentioned there before, each game had an ID associated with it. I know that The Adventures of Lolo, I'm pretty sure, is ID number 60. So you just do -ID 60, you go OK, and then you just do that individually for every single game. One thing to keep in mind is that if the games have already media associated with it, because you have it in your Nintendo section, you can see or it's already all populated really nicely. If it wasn't though, and maybe you added some Japanese games in this section that normally you don't have, like my use case was, I won't have all the art for every section. So what you can do in that case is that you just highlight, again, Control A, you go download, and then you go under download, update media, for selected games. You go next, you go search for the game information, you start, finding whatever art you would like, and you just do enough quick update. Then it'll update just the section with the art, so then you can scan through and make sure it's all nice. But we added Adventures of Lolo as ID 60. We'll see if everything was successful here. Yep, so it's all launching here now in this section. And we have 3D Sen set up, so you just now repeat that process over and over until you have every game set up that you would like. And then let's take a look for like the European section. So for this, it's a little bit more complicated. So for like the Europe section and for my ROM sets, in particular, I'm looking for a region that is equal to Europe. But a version in particular, so that it doesn't show up in the European section, has none of the values of translations or 3D Sen. So I make sure that it's just going to be the Europeans, and because 3D Sen might have Europe, and the translations might be a European translation, I don't want that to be in the Europe section, which is retail games. So this is how you go ahead and configure all the different sections to your liking, and then you start doing all these different conditions. This is also why you have to make sure that your ROM sets are labeled properly and you're using the correct ones. I, again, made sure that my ROM sets are always 1 game, 1 ROM, always the latest versions, and yeah, that's just kind of what I work towards. I think that covers a pretty good portion. Hopefully I'm getting better at describing these. I'm learning as I go, right? But I think that'll be the end of this video here. I'll wrap this one up. Yeah, thanks for sticking around, everyone. Hope to show you some cool new stuff in the future and how things go. All right, see ya.